So we're at part 3 of this video, and what we want to do next is to say, now that I've pulled in the QuemScan data, I want to just do the final update. So there's 3 updates that we're going to do. We're going to do the flow compare update, then we're going to do the non-magnetic update, and if I'm not mistaken, the total mag is most likely already updated because it already includes the second pass RAR, which is A4. So total mag is updated. We must just create now a new non-magnetic response, which is a combination of your three coronostat stages. Okay, so let's do the flow compare. And when you do the flow compare, you want to say, okay, here is hidden files here, so don't go and mess that up. So you can unhide that, and you say, okay, I need to create additional block here, which is the same as that, and I'm just adding these lines in there, and you say, you count them quickly, and you see in the top left corner, you 20 columns. Here you've got 13 columns, so you need, or you had 12 columns, so you need another 8 columns. Let's start from here, and another 8 columns, and you insert them there. Okay, then you can copy this whole structure, and the monocyte there is obviously not allowing you to copy that whole structure, so okay, that's fine. And then let's just copy this whole structure, paste that in there, and what we will do is we say this is a new comparison, so let's make it a new color, and we make it background color there, and now all of a sudden that is all white. Or then we just select that, double click on that, and you can just color those. Let's undo that one single step. Okay, so now if you've selected the structure, and all that you need to do now is you need to add your new data in here. But let's just get the headings and all of these things right. So now I've got this one is now the mag feed, the new, so let's call this the low MZ super LS non-mag feed. Okay, selected mineral is there, so we can no, let's keep the selected mineral there. And what you need to do now is you've got these sheets, or these numbers referring to in the sheet. So all that you need to do is say, right, I've created now new numbers in here, and what we need to do is to say, right, now we say all of these have changed now to A4, so we can simply say replace that and say A3 is now referred to A4. Okay, replace. Okay, so all of this information, where it drags, it pulls it now from BMA, and we can do a quick check to say, is the shaking table mids, and it's selected monocyte, is the shaking table mids mass 9.9%, so let's go to the BMA. Is the shaking table mids in A4 9.9%? Yes, it is. And then we can just quickly check, is the zircon 18.45%? Let's quickly select zircon. And is the mids grade 34.43%? That was the mids. Let's just check that BMA there. That's the quartz. Okay, so, well, I selected the quartz. Okay, 18.45%. Okay, so now all that we need to do is we just need to make all these non-applicable thingies go away by simply saying my super LSR feed is my shaking table head. So one of the easiest way that you can do is you can simply copy all of these things by locking these blocks. And I should have done that before I copied all of this, but that's okay, because what you're doing is you're building on an existing structure, and instead of trying to figure out all of the things afresh, you can just build on the structure and so minimize the time that you spent on editing. So what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste it in each one of these and simply drag these things across. So it's the same as the rest. And I can basically copy that whole thing up. And I'm going to mess the formatting up as well. Okay, now you can see there's a bunch of yellow blocks. So all that you do is you format that painter and you just, then we can also get the right color so that it's not, and you've got that formatting, and you can simply just hide those little things in there. And now what you want to do is you want to just make sure that your flow sheet refers to the right labels here by simply clicking on it and say, okay, this one is now the new one head. Okay, so what has happened now in this formula is, as you can see, it doesn't drag all the way down. So in all of your formulas, okay, it doesn't include this thing. So what you need to do is you need to replace this red block for all of them, and you say, listen, it refers not to line 28 now, stop at 28, but it goes to line 40. So what we're going to do is we're going to select that whole block, select your whole sheet because it's applicable in your whole sheet, find and replace. You say, that is my original reference. Now my new reference goes to all the way to 40. Replace all. And now all of your blocks refers to the total red block. Okay, so now we can continue and say, right, this is your super LSR. And if we start looking at, select and say that now is tails, you can see that. Right, this one is mid, and that one is chronostat head, and that one is 3 chronostat head, and that one is 4 chronostat head, and that one is 3 chronostat conductor, 3 chronostat mid, 3 chronostat non-conductor, chronostat 4 chronostat conductor, 4 chronostat mid, and then finally non-conductor. So now we want to do a quick recovery check, and we say, all right, here is your new, so we can add a new recovery check by simply moving this thing down one. Okay, you add this line here and say recovery check. Now this is your low monazite, low MZ, super LSR feed. You say, what are these things? So let's all lock them as well. Okay, and you say, right, let's copy that for this one, and we do a quick recovery check, and we say, so a recovery check is done on our outgoing streams, which are these 6 at the bottom and the 2, 4 on top. or the 2 shaking tables on top. So in total it was 8 outgoing streams and the rest is intermediate streams, and you add and you say, oh, we've got only a recovery of 96.96, which tells you that it doesn't add up. So also there you can see it doesn't add up to 100. Now, very important in terms of how these numbers are structured here, you can see recovery is calculated as a head. So here is a head sample and it's referring to the previous head sample. So the correct reference should be this point here. So you enter and then you drag it down for the total picture, and you just take that same formatting, and now your recovery numbers matches up. So let's see if those numbers, that number and that number, adds back to 100. The mass adds up. These three adds up to 100, and let's check if those three add up to 82.5. Those three in terms of recovery adds up to 12, which it does. So we've got this one sorted out. We've added that. We can save. Good. Now we must just add a new graph to it and say we've got non-mag super LSR, and now we simply copy the same tab and we want to see how does the non-mag super LSR data compare after taking the monocyte out. So let's copy that sheet and just place it there. Say okay, and now we can say that's non-mag, and then we can just call this low MZ. Okay, and it's now exactly the same as it's the one that you copied from. So what you need to do is, well, first of all, um, so the name is already reflected in there, and what we need to do is we need to say open this and simply change these things from A3 to A4. Since you use exactly the same structure, I can go and replace, say it's not looking at A3. The A4 is the new structure. A4 replace, 6 replacements were made, and just have a look at that. So since the non-mags, since the shaking table, if you go back to the flow, throws out 55% or 56% of the mass, 44 remains, and that's what you're plotting yet. You're plotting coronostat release curves. And what you're comparing is you're comparing the impact of monocyte that's taken out of it. So let's look at these three references. Okay, let's make that one 0 as well, and say now that we look at these three and say this is the normal, this is super LSR taken out, and you can see that these curves are very it's not so sharp as on the reference, but the moment the monocyte is taken out, does it make it sharper? Okay, is there improvement in terms of the separation efficiency between these two? And what is interesting is the hematite, although a very small percentage, has got a movement change, and the second thing is the ilmenite has got a movement change. The monocyte that sits there is obviously the remaining monocyte, although very low now. If you compare the two monocytes with each other, that one is 10%, and that one is like below 4%. So it seems like the monocyte did indeed had some sort of an impact on the on the separation, meaning that the low monocyte separation has had a better result. What is the impact in terms of zircon? So zircon grade went up from let's look in the previous one. It was sitting below 90s, 85s, and after doing the it's sitting well above the 90s. So the removal of monocyte did indeed have a definite grade improvement, which is expected because you're taking mass out. So that effectively is the story. Nothing else needs to be updated here. It's simply the flow that needed to be updated, as well as the additional graph. And this data can now be sent to the client for his review, and the memo can be updated. So thanks, and that's the end of that.